Hey guys, what's up? Matt here again. Long time no chat. I just wanted to reshare. I said this in the pod. We are going to have the biggest Hot Takes live event yet, February 27th at 7 p.m. over on youtube.com/meninred97. There's a few ways to get involved. One, submit your takes ahead of time using the form plastered all over our social media and in our link tree on Instagram. Two, just come into the chat away and listen to all the crazy things we're going to talk about. And three, join the Chicago Fire Discord Bridgeview stage during the time of recording, and you could join the conversation and call in live on the show. We can't wait to see you all there. It's going to be a great event. Come on, you men in red. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whatever time of day you are listening. Welcome to the Bonfire podcast. I say this every time I'm talking to you guys, but we are so back and we're excited to bring you our official off-season review and MLS 2025 season preview. We got a stacked cast today. So my name's Matt. I'll be your host, founder, MIR97. Super stoked to be here with you guys. It's going to be a great episode. And I am joined by my wonderful colleagues, starting with Mr. DJ.
And this is the last time we will see Matt until the end of the season.
That's not true. I promise to make at least one or two more, guys. DJ, how you doing? You okay?
I have cheese fries. I'm all good.
Yeah, dude, that's the best feeling ever in the world. Alongside DJ, we are joined by legendary tweeter, talker, Tim. Tim, how we doing today?
Legendary tweeter. I'm not sure if that's really a compliment, especially in 2025, but we'll roll with it.
I don't know. Admittedly, I panicked a little bit. I wanted to say like how just smart you are, and for some reason, tweeter came to mind. But you're good at a lot of things. I promise you that, Tim. It's great to see you. And of course, it'd be hard to forget that we have a uber special guest. Not saying DJ, Tim, and I aren't, but today we have the pleasure of being joined with On Tap sports legend Joe Chats. Joe, welcome to the pod. How are you?
Oh, just dandy. How are we doing, fellas?
I'm good. And I know you guys can't see this because you're just listening, but Joe has what appears to be a multicolored Bass Pro Shop hat on right now. And I just wanted to say that looks fire.
Oh, thank you. Apparently, I have hats as props now, so this is my thing. I still have my hair, I promise. But
Joe, I think this means you're an honorary Floridian.
This is the second Bass Pro hat that I have seen Joe wearing in 2025. Just putting that out there.
Look, if you have to stop for the bathroom on your way back from Michigan, where better to stop?
That's fair enough.
You can get boat, you can get tackle, you can get bait, you can get a hat.
Well, it looks really good on you, and maybe you'll tweet out a picture of it so the good people of or Instagram it of the world can see it. But we're very grateful to have a Lord of the Coachella Valley Jungles here with us on this pod, talking all things fire. I'm pretty sure that's a DJ line, if I guessed that right. So it's a good one. Well, we got a lot to talk about, boys. You okay if we just dip our feet right into it?
Oh, hell yeah.
Rock on. The 2025 MLS season is what? At the time of recording, it's Tuesday. Does that mean it's 3 days away? I can't do basic math. 4 days away.
4 days away.
Yeah, and that means we've had about 2 to 3 months of off season. So there's a lot to review, and we want to do it relatively quickly because obviously everyone wants to talk about the next 6 months of our lives because it's going to be a blast. Greg Berhalter comes in I believe it was now December. We worked the entire front office, bringing in guys like Greg Broughton, Mikey Stevens, Vincent Kelvin, a new host of assistant coaches, including Tom Heineman, Hector Jimenez, Joe Bendick, and Felipe. And I'm so sorry. Tim, can you tell me how to pronounce Felipe's last name?
I'm not going to do that this time.
Silicaya.
Joe, do you know for sure?
Silicaya.
Felipe Silicaya, obviously. A whole great cast of productive front office guys and assistant coaches, which kind of set the whole mood for what the offseason is going to look like. Fast forward 2 months, and we have what I think is 7 or 8 transfers in and a whole host of transfers out. These transfers in include the highlighted French winger, Jonathan Bamba, the the center mid
you
from Mali.
French. and then said Malay in there.
No, I'm talking about
Well,
Romelu
he's
Kwame.
a former,
I'm
he's a
talking
Mali
about Romelu
international. So like it's
Kwame.
complicated. The guy born in Mali
yeah.
is not the Mali international. The guy born in Mali is from Cote d'Ivoire international. Like it's all complicated. The world is a complicated place, and we're just living
It
in
is such a
At least if two
complication.
countries that border each other, that makes the confusion even better.
Yeah, exactly. Romelu Kwame coming in from Cadiz CF in Spain.
Kwame.
Romanigue Kwame. Romanique Kwame. Romanique Kwame coming in from Cadiz CF.
Can you tell that we didn't go over this before recording, guys?
Well, I'm just also...
People got to learn.
Yeah, Alex Calabrese is going to roll his eyes when he listens to this one. That's for sure.
You know what?
No, just say this one. Say the last one right. You can do it.
Yeah,
I believe in you.
We're in preseason 2, guys. That's what Admin likes to say. Sam Rogers, who came over from Scandinavian countries, Jack Elliott, who came over from the East Coast, Leonardo Barroso, who came over from Sporting in Portugal, and then my personal favorite acquisition of the offseason, Philip Zinkernagel, coming over from Denmark. Yeah, Denmark, although he's hopped around quite a bit in recent days. And I know you guys, I've told you this before, but I went to the Saturday nights, or the Saturday football kickoff meeting, which I saw Tim and Joe there. And Zinkernagel could not fit on the back of a jersey, just to let everyone know, unless they shrink the letters. So just note that when you're thinking about getting a Zinkernagel jersey after he inevitably becomes the Fire's Golden Boot leader.
And that's not even including everyone, by the way. Like that didn't include Omar Gonzalez, didn't include several of the homegrown sightings, including Robert Trudeen's second biggest
and Christopher Cupps,
homegrown sighting in MLS
today.
history, and Christopher Cupps as of today, as the day that we're recording.
Those are some really fun homegrown signings too. I'm excited to see what those guys bring, whether it's next year or 5 years down the road. In the case of Trudeen, who is 15 years old, which is crazy to think about. On the flip side, we've had a lot of, in my opinion, Fire legends who have left the club, including fan favorite Rafael Chihos, not fan favorite Gaston Jimenez, but had a great GIF or GIF. Joe's like,
I understand the frustration, I imagine, as fans, but very nice man.
Yeah, and then of course alongside him you got the destroyer himself, Federico Navarro, who went down to South America, and of course fan favorites Fabian Herbers and Wyatt Armsberg, 2 longtime MLS vets. Salute them. Sorry, Alan, I know you're not here, but there's a note here that we will comfort you, so we'll send you some love virtually over Discord right now. And then short-term Fire defender Tobias Salquist, who opted to go back home instead of staying for 1 or 2 more seasons in Chicago. So there's that being said, there's been a lot of in, there's been a lot of out. My first question to the crowd is, what do we think went right this offseason? What were some of the positives, the highlights of this offseason? I'd love to start with DJ.
Fire actually made signings. Like, that's kind of a weird thing to say, but under Heights, it kind of became very clear that they would go for players and either massively overpay for them, see, for example, Shaqiri, or not get them at all. And I've said this last time when the Kwame was being announced. There was a report in Spain that Cadiz, I think, was his team, that they actually told the Fire, no, you guys are buying him because the Fire spent so much on Bamba, and the Fire stuck to their guns and said, nope, we're just staying alone. And that is a good thing. Like, I don't know how the season's going to go, but just having that off the bat is really good.
That would have somehow managed to be a DP with Heights.
You're 100%, which is why we're thankful for now that Triple G is in charge. But it is really important that you sign players in the offseason, and Greg's done a good job of that. Joe, highlight of the offseason. What are you happy with?
Well, I'm happy with the fact that they didn't have to use their buyout on either Federico Navarro or Gaston Jimenez, or these high salaried guys that you knew didn't really have a role yet. Navarro could have played that kind of Tyler Adams midfield role, but you knew they had no future here, and it could have been one of those mutual buyouts or something. But these were actual deals where cash was exchanged, right? Like, that's productive, where in years past, I don't think that necessarily would have gotten done. Think about how many windows Jimenez has just stayed and just had his contract adjusted because it was convenient, and at the last minute the team's like, this will help us. So just having those deals is great, and yeah, you're getting experience as well as some young talent. So like the Jack Elliott signing, the fact that he just want to come here kind of says a lot.
Yeah, that kind of set the tone for the whole offseason. I think as soon as Jack Elliott signed, that sense of like fear, not fear, but like despair that we were all feeling kind of started to drift away. If that's the first sign we're making the offseason. Tim, highlights of the offseason. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think that, people basically nailed it. I just like that it really feels like there's a plan and a structure. Jonathan Bamba, I think he can kill it in MLS. I think that there were some parts of the fan base and like more broadly around the league where people like there were so many, 8-figure signings coming in from overseas this year. Bamba wasn't that. I think part of that's because his club was just wanting to move on from his contract. He was overpaid, like that. They do not look like they've got a stable financial future at the moment with what's going on the sporting side. But it looks like there's a plan, and it looks like they're not rushing to put things in place. But at the same time, it's going to be 5 or 6 new starters on opening day, which is huge. And I think that the other thing that does is because there's a plan there, because there's a structure in place, a lot of the guys that I think were more, I'll just say anonymous last year than we thought they would be, guys from like Brian Gutierrez, Andrew Gutman, who was, injured a lot of the time, Kellen Acosta, who had his worst season as a professional. I think that you're hoping that a lot of these guys are going to improve because of everything that changed around them. And so it'll be a bigger rebound than you think because the talent that was already there is going to start flourishing.
I agree with you, Tim. Guys like Turan and guys like Acosta and Gutman, who are okay to good at times next season, are really going to need to up their game to support those 5 or 6 new guys who are going to enter the lineup. Because MLS, as we all know, is a physical, competitive league, and it's difficult to acclimate quickly. So I agree with all of you. Great points. I'd say for me, my win this offseason is we avoided the Neymar saga. That may be a hot take. I'm gauging smiles or whatnot, but I'm kind of grateful we didn't have to deal with all of that, although I think the publicity of the club would have been really fun. It just feel like it would have been a mess. So that's my small
We got to date it, but we didn't have to end up taking it, across like down the aisle and marrying it, which is probably the best way that could have panned out.
Exactly. We met the parents, realized we wanted nothing to do with them, and left. So,
oh man, that is so accurate here.
Yeah.
Tim, are you saying that we hit and quit Neymar?
Basically, yeah. That's
okay. I just want that on record.
Yeah, I definitely say that is for Matt Schabelman a win. I'd also say a win is we actually look good on the field, and I know it's preseason, and some people will yell at me for even watching preseason MLS because that's kind of psychotic behavior. But if you watched any of their games, yes, of course they lost a couple, 2 games to good, 1-0 losses to good teams. They had like a what is this? I guess I haven't seen it in a while from Fire teams, like a play style, a vision. Actually passing the ball to the back and at one point stringing 55 passes together or something like that. And that was really, really fun to see and hope that could be replicated in the long term throughout the season.
And Joe, you were there in Coachella for a week, right? So what was the energy like that you saw? Like, how did that compare to, I guess, some of the preseasons we've seen in recent years?
Well, it's a lot less hoofing it down the field and just kind of letting that happen. It's really a lot more, ironically, more direct by playing it through the back. There's a directness in how they're going to do it and a patience within that chaos. So it's had its lumps, right? Everyone's had their moments where a back pass has gone wrong. It hasn't. I mean, they still only gave up 2 goals in 6 preseason games, or 3 goals in 6 preseason games. That's bananas in reality. I don't care. Like, preseason doesn't matter in reality, but that's a number. So just seeing that directness and then what can happen once you springboard from it. The Zinkernagel Bamba counterattacks is insane.
Beautiful.
Consider how inept this team has been on the counterattack the last few years. And just to have that as a fail safe, that's the type of thing that can get you a point after nothing for 90 minutes. And to just have that in your back pocket, even if it's one of those games where they're guys who played a lot of minutes, they're going to have some games where they're going to have to come off and only play 30 minutes off the bench. Having that in your back pocket is huge just because it'll steal you points, and that gets you in the playoffs in MLS. Fire stole points last year, and they still didn't make the playoffs, and that's just kind of a testament to how bad it was. This year, it should be the other way, but it won't be a 3-goal comeback thanks to wind against Montreal. It'll be 1-1 because they did something bananas because someone laid off, at midfield, and somehow Bamba got around everybody. There's reason for optimism.
Couldn't agree more. I'm glad to hear that it looked good in person, besides just looking good on TV.
Yeah,
too.
yeah, it really did.
And what are they calling that? Going back to that Kellen goal, it's called the Windy City Miracle. Is that correct? Did I just pull that out of my butt?
Yeah, no, that sounds about right. But
Yeah,
it's another one of those things. It matters to Fire. It didn't catch on outside of MLS, but it's just an MLS issue. So it will be for Fire fans, and it's something to keep alive. I mean, it's hilarious to anybody you talk to about it, but it's something you'll never forget because it's so stupid and awesome the way that happened. I mean, I
you're
remember.
skilled, Joe.
Yeah,
You're
no,
skilled.
just asking Lassiter because he was on the other team at that point. So asking him when he got traded about it, he's like, that game, like he still couldn't get over how annoying it was to lose that way.
Well, it's been enjoyable getting to talk about all this good, but in reality, we're Fire fans, and we are always thinking about the concerns going on. So although it was an overall I'd give it probably a B plus A, arguably off season, there's still things to be concerned about, and I just want to touch on those before we talk about the next 6 months of our lives. Starting with Tim, what is your biggest concern coming away from this off season?
I think that it's going to take too long to gel. And when you look at the team's schedule, 2/3 of the teams in MLS make the playoffs in like April, and I want to say into May. There's like a stretch where the Fire play like one game in 9 against teams that were not playoff teams last year, and a lot of teams look like they have improved over the offseason. So one of the things this team needs to do is believe in itself and gel. And it's going to be difficult to do that when you are facing tough competition and maybe not getting all the results that you want. So it's about keeping the group together, grinding out some points early on. I mean, obviously, no one's going to be at 100% either at that point. Like everyone's still figuring everything out, and it's MLS. And so I know it doesn't seem this way to Fire fans, but like teams win games that it doesn't look like they should win on paper all the time, especially early in the season, because they happen to be more up for it that day because whatever random thing happens, just because that's the kind of league that it is. But the Fire needs some of that luck to go their way, because if not, you're in a position where you're in a pretty deep hole. And then you start to wonder, do people, especially people that are new or people that are old and they've been here before, been on the roster, kind of feel like it's, oh no, not we're doing that thing again. And does that make the wheels kind of fall off the cart before it really starts getting, going downhill?
You're telling me we can't play Toronto for the first 9 games of the season, Tim?
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is that you know that those games would be fun. Like the Fire would maybe lose one of them. Like there would be something where like, some crazy like Lorenzo Insigne set piece during the 5 minutes he gets off the bench or something like that. Like, or like Bernadeschi would do like one of those things that like he's still insanely capable of doing. But then the Fire would win like the other 8.
Yeah. DJ, what are you most concerned about? I know you have concerns. Oh.
Injuries. Again, I'm going to go back to my favorite season, 2013, where the Fire pretty much came from 2012 looking really good, and then one guy retired and one guy got injured, and they fell apart. That's like injuries and depth are my biggest concern, because we said this before, the Fire are probably going to take a couple windows to actually get to the status they need, and depth right now is the big one. That's the one thing where I'm like, yeah, they need more help, especially
I couldn't agree.
up top.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That was my number one concern is depth, and you're 2 injuries away from having to pull someone who's a center back or a left back or right back to play in the midfield. And it's the same with our center backs. Now we're 4 deep, but is Omar Gonzalez really going to be able to put in that shift? I hope so. I like the guy, but depth was my number one concern too, and I feel that I worry about, if Gutman gets hurt in the first 2 minutes and we have to see 6 months of Johnny Dean again, are we really going to be able to handle that? And I'm sure we'll be fine, but I just had to put in a little banter right there. Joe, what's your biggest concern?
The one thing though, if I can just on that.
Oh yeah, go Tim.
The Fire currently have free spots on the senior roster. We don't totally know what their cap space is. Alex is going to have a story about that coming up, probably roster compliance day, which is this Friday. So keep an eye out for that on Minred 97. But last year, the roster was completely full. So other than putting a guy on the season-ending injury list, there was no way to bring somebody in. Now there is space, and this front office has proven to be, I think, already a lot more agile than what we saw from the previous one. So we will probably, like, if a hole like that happens, there's always going to be determination that needs to get made. But, Mikey Stevens, Berhalter, like, these are guys that have been around the league for basically the league's history. And they know every other front office. They know people at pretty much every team in the league. And so they can say, like, look, any chance we could get whatever, this guy that is like on your depth chart, not getting enough minutes right now at center back or whatever the thing is. And there's a lot higher probability of that happening than there would have been, I think, last year.
100%. And I will say, I said this earlier at the time of recording, Sean Davis is now on the market, reportedly. So that fills a hole and apparently is a low budget hit. So I'm just going to put that one out there again. Maybe I'll manifest it. Joe, over to you. I know you like that idea for sure. What are you most concerned about going into the season?
Sean Davis is a fun player in MLS.
I agree.
The good and the bad is entertaining no matter what, which they got rid of Fede Navarro to get rid of that. So just
exactly.
My biggest concern at this point is it relates to depth, and it's more, there's a lot of reliance on some youth and new players. And when you're doing new players, youth, and a new system, that's a lot of things at once. So I am just concerned at the overall question of how long is it going to take for it to look very good? How long will it take for 50% of the roster to look really good in this system so that once the summer comes around, there will be changes, but it won't be that drastic. That's really my concern going in. And that's with any coach, but this in particular, when you're going to play it out the back, the mistakes are so obvious when they happen this way, and then they get aggregated because when playing out the back, going wrong exists, however that acronym works. But it's going to take time, and I'm just concerned at how long that time period is going to be because, yes, it should be pretty easy to make the MLS playoffs, but it's the Fire.
Yeah, and I think Tim said this earlier. The East, most of the teams have gone better. It's going to be a dogfight, and Tim alluded to this earlier. But the front half of the schedule, it's tough, man. I mean, there's no easy schedule in MLS, but it's really tough. So Greg's going to have the boys running out from game one because game one is not exactly a easy match. Columbus away, which we'll chat about later. But we got a whole season to preview, and hopefully when we're reviewing this season preview, next season preview, we're focusing a lot more on the optimism than we are the concerns. The Fire will be playing in 2 competitions in this 2025 season. That's, of course, the traditional MLS Cup and the U.S. Open Cup. It is the return to U.S. Open Cup. We've talked about it multiple times on the pod. Everyone's here happy about it. It's we have the opportunity to be the first to 5, and that's a really, really exciting thing. So lot to look forward to. DJ, what are you most looking forward to in the season?
Chris Friday.
Good answer.
Just genuinely, if he plays like he did during preseason this season, I my hot take for the episode. If Chris Brady plays as good as he was during preseason this season, Tony Meola will be in danger.
That's interesting.
Losing his tag of the only MVP.
Future Scottish
I'm so
international.
excited. That is such a sicko answer. Like the thing you're most excited about early on is a goalkeeper, a homegrown goalkeeper.
Hey, he's a nice neighborhood boy. I respect it.
Yeah, 100%.
Tim, I'll keep it on you. What are you most looking forward to?
I think just seeing a team that will go into some games and expect to win them. I think that's not a thing that Fire fans have felt in a while, and I think that is a thing that's going to happen this year. There's going to be ups and downs, I'm sure of it, but I don't know how you guys felt going into the game against Sporting Kansas City in preseason. Now, obviously, it's preseason, but I was thinking the Fire should be winning this game. Like, they should be pretty confident that they can get a result, and they should be pretty confident that they're the better team, and that's the way that it played out. And that's not a familiar feeling. I mean, this is a team that, just lost it to Sporting Kansas City with essentially the same roster that played, last year with a couple tweaks here and there. Yeah.
And also on expanding off that, when you look at the LA Galaxy game, that in my head was not a game I expected the Fire to win. But they ended up winning, even though they were vastly underperformed compared to LA Galaxy, and they got a shutout. So that I would say is just as optimistic as, or just as fun to watch as the Fire actually beating the teams that they couldn't beat last year. So that's a great thing to look forward to. Joe, what are you pumped about? What are you hyped about?
Jonathan Bamba in MLS could be really fun.
Dude, he's going to be sick.
It's just objectively one of those guys who can change a game in a way that is fun and compelling to just watch, even if you're not a big soccer fan. And that's just something awesome to have on a team. That's the type of person, when you see them on the counter, when you see the kind of one-on-one things that that he can do, apparently I can't speak anymore, is really remarkable. And he is the type of player that you can show the person who doesn't like soccer, like, hey, this guy's pretty good. And they'll be like, oh my God, this is actually impressive.
Yeah, he's going to be the guy that as soon as he gets the ball on his foot and he's one-on-one with the outside back or the center back, all of Soldier Field will rise because something crazy is about to happen. So he's going to hopefully be an absolute dog on the field, almost at court. Not sure why. Definitely not a court. I'd say for me, I alluded to this earlier, but US Open Cup is what I'm most excited about. I've said this in a Bonfire pod before. I probably said it on Hot Takes, but if you look at the field of who the Fire are up against in the Open Cup, like Tim mentioned, like they are mostly teams that we should beat. And I don't want to jinx ourselves by saying that, which I probably just did. But the field looks pretty good, and that's our goddamn competition. So I'm most looking forward to supporting the boys in that tournament again, because although it was fun supporting the next pro team and getting to trash talk Elliot Collier at SeatGeek Stadium in Bridgeview, the first team's fun. And I truly believe this is our year. I don't know. Were any of you guys at that Elliot Collier session?
Joe and I were there.
Yeah, it was a game. It was a game.
It was one of the games of all time.
I'm prepared to go back to SeatGeek for these games, though.
That's fine with me. Hey,
probably.
You know what they say, Joe? For the Fire, we will travel anywhere. Wow, that was so cheesy.
Even to Bridgeview.
And before the Fire.
Even to Bridgeview. And
before the Fire, play at Soldier Field because I don't want to play at SeatGeek anymore.
Yeah, I agree, but we'll have to live with that for a few more times. Team predictions. It's a long season. I want to know from you guys, what does success look like in terms of the table, and what does failure look like? I'll kick it off since I've been ending things. I think I'd be curious to know if everyone agrees with this, and obviously we'll go around. But I believe this is a playoff team. I said that last year. I believe it way more this year. I don't think they're going to finish first or second in the Eastern Conference. There's too many good teams. Atlanta, Orlando, Miami, Cincy, Columbus will still be good among Charlotte as well. But I think you could slot them in for like the 7 seed or the 8 seed. There's no reason they shouldn't get to that point. So I think that's what success. Failure, not making the playoffs. We say it every year, but it's still like that would be a failure. So that's my floor ceiling situation, I guess. Tim, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think that you hit the nail on the head. 7th, I think, is maybe the place that you want to aim for. That gets you a proper playoff series. It gets you a home playoff game. 8th, I guess, gets you a home playoff game too, just in the play-in. So whether that's playoff or not, I don't know, is a debate for philosophers, not really for this pod. But I think that they can aim high. Like a lot of people, I think, are thinking the team can squeeze into the playoffs kind of thing, like back it in. To me, that would be a disappointment. Like, I think that for this to truly feel successful, they want to have things that they're playing for on decision day, but they don't want it to be a question of whether or not it's their last game.
Agreed. If you put me at a 50-50 like percent on decision day, saying that we're at least fighting for a spot, I'm happy. 100% agree. Joe, over to you.
Playoffs, it's as simple as playoffs. That's the way the team's preaching it. That's the way I feel about it. If this team is healthy, there is absolutely no reason why they should not have a great shot at a postseason spot. Not a postseason spot, a playoff spot. They got to qualify for something and get into one of these series. This team is built to be annoying to knock out of the playoffs.
And it sounds like, based off DJ's reaction, that he's agreeing with the floor, correct?
I'm actually going to go one further. I'm going to say success for the Fire looks like something they haven't done in almost 20 years. which is Open Cup semifinals and the playoffs in the same season.
That would be fun.
Oh,
Yeah,
that would
I
be
think
super
that,
fun.
I mean, realistically, you're not going to have a clearer path to a trophy than the Fire's Open Cup run this year. That would also get the Fire into CONCACAF Champions Cup. They're the only MLS team that's existed basically for the entirety of this modern era that has never been in the tournament.
I got something I'd like in this Open Cup that would qualify as a failure if it doesn't happen. If the Fire play a lower league team, I want it to be away.
Cool.
Agreed.
I'm down. I'll
Don't
go.
host. Why host it? Even the indie fans, they did a great job coming out. The Madison, or not the Madison fan, when it was House, all of it, it was great. Take this team that actually has a fan base around the country, believe it or not, teams, but they still have fans everywhere. Take them somewhere else. It'll be fun, and it matters to those communities too. Like it really would be something.
And I think that I know that was one of the points that was discussed with U.S. Soccer with the new format. The issue right now is the way that it works. They basically, every team has to kind of like put in a bid about whether or not they'd like to host, and then it goes from there. And then after that point, like the envelope is in. Like they can't say, oh, I mean, we wanted to host if we were facing like the Red Bulls, but we would prefer to go to a fun venue somewhere like a USL team or something like that. They can't do that. And I think that's a big problem with the format.
Do you think we can convince the Fire to travel to IMG Academy to play a game?
I mean, didn't they just?
They did not.
Wasn't that what they were in Bradenton for? Isn't that where they played Sporting KC?
No, that was in West Palm Beach.
Oh.
Yeah, all those
the
southern
opposite
Florida
side of
towns.
Florida.
Yeah.
DJ can basically look out his window and see IMG Academy. So,
oh wow, the
You
future.
see, IMG Academy and at least 3 Gators high on basalts.
I can't wait for Chicago House to request a host just to get the Chicago Fire in the first round.
they're not in this year.
I know, but
There will be no
still,
Chicago
it would be
House in the Open
so
Cup.
funny if, like, finally we get to travel to an away team, and it's at SeatGeek anyways because it's the house. Yeah, that'd be really fun. No, but I agree with you, Joe. That'd be sick. Let these other teams, draw out their crowds, and I'd go on a road trip to see my Fire play at Madison or Detroit City or something like that. That'd be super fun. As long as they don't lose to one of those teams, I would also consider that to be a failure of the season.
Final run, give them a competitive 2-0 win if you want to be a nice team, but give them a goal.
I was going to say, give them a goal, let the crowd go crazy, and then score 5 goals in the second half and put on the kids.
Yeah.
100% agree. I'd say those are all pretty similar. Floor.
They're pretty much the same.
They're pretty much the same, which is good because we're all locked in. We're all on the same page, and that's really exciting to hear because that normally doesn't happen on these podcasts, actually. But the moving on, the Fire have a slew of new players. We've talked about some of them. There's all the homegrowns. There's all the new guys coming from out of country and in the league. And I'd love to hear one or two player predictions you have. These could be Golden Boot winners, fun stats about wherever you want to go with this. I'm curious. And to give you guys a minute to think, because that was such a vague ask, I'll kick things off. Number 1, Jonathan Bamba, our Golden Boot leader. I've been back and forth on this one, from Hugo to Jonathan. And after watching Jonathan play, I think he's just going to absolutely cook. So I'm giving him 19 goals, gets him the Golden Boot winner, but Hugo's right behind him at 17. Tim's laughing. I want to know why you're laughing.
It's just picking his number, I think, is sort of funny.
I'm a numbers guy, Tim. I work off numbers. And my second one, which is his
jersey number as his goal total.
Oh, yeah. So, you see? I didn't even think about that, Tim. This is why we love you. My second one is that I said this somewhere. I don't remember if this was just like internally in one of our chats or on Hot Takes, and we're going to get into Hot Takes right after this. But Andrew Gutman, it wouldn't be a podcast without Matt bringing up Andrew Gutman, will have the most assists of any left back in the league. Boom. Maybe I should have saved that for the next segment, but player predictions, Hot Takes, they're... Did you say interesting, Joe?
Yeah, no, I like it. I need to think about who the other left backs are and who their strikers.
Exactly, Joe. Who? Don't know. not convinced about that one.
No one knows who that guy is.
Yeah, his supporting cast not that strong. Andrew Gutman's got the mighty Jonathan Papa on his side. Joe, I'm going to keep the baton over to you. Some player predictions. What do you got for me?
So I think that you're going to see Brian Gutierrez lead this team in assists this year. I think you're going to see more of that. He's going to be taking these shots, right? He's going to be taking a lot of shots. But I think what that's going to force him to do as well is it's going to open spaces when he realizes that it's predictable to a point. He was really direct in the preseason, so I think he's going to lead this team in assists, or at least get back to that 7 to 10 number that he was at before last year. And then another one, let's say that Tom Barlow at least equals his MLS career high of 4 goals. I think that's cool. Let's have some fun.
Well, it appears, though, with the current depth chart, he's going to get a lot of minutes.
Going to get a lot of minutes. And
the way
it's designed, it's for strikers just to clean up on stuff. So if anybody can, I think he can.
And I'm sorry, because I'm a numbers guy, can you just tell me how many assists Brian Gutierrez is going to get this season?
Let's just say 10.
Okay, awesome. Just wanted that on the record. So when we're all wrong next year, we could talk about it. Passing it over to Mr. Tim. Tim, player predictions. I'm sure you'll be rational.
I'm going to say that Brian Gutierrez is going to have at least 17 goal contributions this year.
Ooh, that's good.
Split between goals and assists. Obviously, I'm not sure that I really want to break that down farther than that. I mean, I feel like Joe's like double-digit assists is probably the most logical way that'll happen, but and that would be huge for him, right? Because like he basically would prove that he is a starting number 10 in this league, and that the team doesn't need to spend, millions and millions of dollars this summer to get in a DP to replace him if he's on track to do that by the time the window opens in July. And if he doesn't, then I think that's, maybe, I mean, the way that I think that doesn't happen is if he does so well that he ends up getting sold somewhere for a boatload of money as the next stage in his career. But if he sticks around, I think, 17 goal contributions from Goody.
I would be more than happy with that number. I can't lie. Love that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's good, right? Like, and that puts him back in the conversation of being sort of like the next sort of half generation in the U.S. men's national team. He has a different game than Diego Luna, who's a similar age. And I think that like Diego Luna was not on anyone's radar. And now he's basically been given the keys to an attack in MLS at RSL. And I think that would put him in that conversation.
Those two are friends now. After camp, they loved hanging out with each other, apparently. So,
I mean, legitimately, I think that can help Guti in some ways more than it does because, Luna was never heralded the way that Guti was. Like Guti was, basically in circles where he had every reason to think he would be a big thing. And Diego Luna had to go to USL and then work his way back to MLS. You know what I mean? Like it was a whole thing with him. And I think that kind of like mental toughness is key because there will be ups and downs. But I think the system's going to make it a lot easier. I'm going to say that Hugo Kuipers is going to win the Golden Boot. I hear what you're saying about Bamba, but it like realistically, like Greg Berhalter's system is just so striker friendly. Like it's not quite like if things are working the way they should, it's not quite like you could stick a traffic cone on there and if it manages to stay on side, it would get 10 goals, but like it's not that far off either. And Kuipers is better than just that. Like, right? Like he's all the notes that I had last year on Kuipers, it wasn't him not doing good things with chances. It was like better hold up play than I would have thought. He made a really good run and nothing happened.
Still hauling ass in the 95th.
Yeah, exactly. Like those are the notes you got about Kuipers. It wasn't like, oh, I should have done better there. Like that basically didn't come up because he didn't get the ball enough. And I don't think that's going to be the case. And that'd be huge. This isn't player specific though, but one other thing I want to throw out there. I think the Fire are going to have someone selected to the All-Star team. And this time not as like a commissioner's pick or something like that.
Brady.
That's a good one. I also very quickly want to note that a plug on Bamba was not supposed to be a knock against Hugo. I think it's going to be very close. Could be interchangeable.
I hear that. Yeah. I hear that. I just think like Greg Berhalter in his career has never had a striker of Hugo's talent level compared to the field. And he's made so many guys that, I mean, all these names that we like still know around the league, including Kai Kamara and Ola Kamara and like a bunch of others, right? Like have career seasons under him, and so I think that Kuipers is gonna feast.
Is Ola Kamara still in MLS? No, he went over to Norway, right? Something like that.
I think he's retired now.
Oh, he's donezo. Dang, he was a
and
class
no
player.
update. Kai Kamara is still available as a free agent if the Fire are looking for striker depth.
He was an all-star.
I'd prefer Bobby Wood personally if we're just going to talk about washed like strikers, but Kai Kamara knows the facilities, I guess. That's a plus.
What's Mike McGee still up to?
Yeah, not these facilities. It's a much nicer work environment than what he had before.
Good point. No, it's okay, guys. We have Tom Barlow, who Joe's confident will get 4 goals this season.
It's the same argument as Tim, though. It's the same argument.
That's fair. DJ, player predictions. What do you think?
Carlos Duran will not finish the season as a Chicago Fire player. And I'm going to say Justin Reynolds is going to come, if not going to take it over, he's going to come extremely close to taking over the right back spot from Barroso.
That's an interesting one. I was actually thinking about that right back position. I'm like, is Barroso?
He moved into our next hot take segment. That's nice. Nice segue there, DJ.
Yeah. Great natural
That's
segment.
Not my hot take. Not my hot take. Don't worry.
I feel like these two segments are so intertwined that we should just skip to the hot take segment and then debrief everything afterwards. So hot takes, I have 2. One might not actually be a hot take. In reality, I should have saved my Gutman one. My first one is there will... What, Joe?
You said you should have shaved, and then you said I should have saved. And sorry.
Thanks, Joe.
You would have looked like Andrew Gutman.
I'll remember that.
And
I'll definitely remember that one. My first hot take, which I don't actually think is a hot take, and certain people in this organization and this club are going to love this. I believe that at the end of the season, there will be 2 homegrown starting in the midfield for the Fire. Sergio and Guti. I don't know.
A hot take if it's going to probably happen on Saturday.
But it could, yeah.
That's right. Hey guys, my hot take already happened. I've got the ability to predict the future.
You know what? I take it back. Okay, screw me. My goodness. My second one, because I was going to skip there, is which might not be a hot take considering DJ thinks that Toronto won't even be on the roster. I was going to say Sam Rogers is one of our starting center backs by the end of the season. But obviously, if Toronto's gone, then I guess I'm seeing the future, and he's probably starting there anyways. So I guess I suck at this. It should probably just go back to hot takes and yap away. I'm just going to pass it over.
To be fair, Mauricio Pineda is still on the roster.
Yeah, no, that's also fair. And I'm a big Pineda guy.
We are the Pineda fan club, after all.
I should have saved my Gutman one. I feel like a fool now. I'm passing it over to DJ for more takes because I know he's got player stats up his wazoo.
How stupid do you want to take?
I mean,
it's stupid.
It's a peak of the live show on the 27th. So just go away or go crazy. I guess that's what
my stupid prediction is by the end of the season, at least 5 players are going to have at least 10 goals and assist contributions for the Fire.
Interesting.
My hot take. And that is a very possible thing. However, I will say that the players will be Kuipers, Guti, Costa. I don't think Zinkernagel's there. Bamba. And Barroso.
Andrew Gutman. Yeah, I heard that last one right. Okay, just making sure. Love that.
Again,
Thank God for secondary assists, DJ. That's really helping you a lot here.
Well, to be fair, see, here's the thing. My thinking is this is either going to be a season very similar to 2016 or 2017. 2016, god awful. 2017, somehow Matt Polster was like second on the team for assists. And that's what I'm thinking is like, somehow this is going to happen this season or next season where Barroso or Reynolds are going to be like one of the best players and assisting for some strange reason.
Cool. Fine with me. Matt Polster, legend of the club. Tim, hot take.
Oh man, I'm having a difficult time coming up with this just because I'm like where I'm at. I'm like all the things that I come up with are good, and I feel like most are fairly realistic. I almost thought that the All-Star selection was a hot take, but it just now I'm like that actually is the thing that should happen, especially if the fan base gets engaged with the fan vote part of it, right? Like there's a ton of fans, like Fire fans, that are kind of like hanging out sort of like off scene a little bit. And I think as soon as
Yep.
the team looks good, they'll come back.
Would you say they're a giant awakens, Tim?
Yes, I would say that it's a sleeping giant. It's a phrase that we heard Greg Berhalter repeat again today.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, it's if we had a nickel for every time that Berhalter said that, I don't know. Joe, we'd probably have at least like 50 cents, right?
I think we could actually pay for a Starbucks coffee. I'm not even
with inflation nowadays, I'm not sure about that one, Joe, but I hear you.
I'm telling you, it's been said so much. It sounds good. Like, I get it. And there's a lot of people who don't read the previous interviews, so he has to say it a million times because he gets asked the same questions a million times.
Throw it on a scarf
better than potato and eggs.
I'm going to say, I don't know if this is a hot take because I haven't actually looked at the way that every team in the league is set up. But I am going to say that the Fire are going to lead MLS in appearances by homegrowns.
Yeah.
When you look, I mean, the like thing in the wrench. You know what? I will guarantee that it's going to happen. I mean, I'm not going to guarantee it, but like, I'd be 1,000% confident if we limit it to teams that make the postseason. So that's a twofer. Like the Fire will make the postseason. And out of teams in the postseason, they will have the most appearances by homegrowns in the course of the year. Because I think that like Philadelphia could end up in a situation where they're like looking at a wooden spoon and they are literally just playing a bunch of kids, like increasingly young kids, to the point that you're like, are you allowed to be up this late, young man, at some point in the season? But
Kevin Sullivan,
so they could, the point where like Kevin Sullivan is like a foot and a half taller than some of these guys.
Are we counting Mauricio Pineda and Andrew Gutman in this?
Yeah, I'm counting. Well, I'm not going to count Gutman because he didn't sign from the academy, even though he did play in the academy. But I'm going to, I'm counting Pineda.
Those will add up.
I'm counting Pineda. I'm counting Brady, even though he's not on a deal where it really would make a difference. I guess he was protected in the draft because of his age. But yeah.
Joe, have you done your hot take yet? We've been talking about this so much, I can't remember anymore.
I've been heating up so hard. I think the most popular name in the rumor mill coming up, I've not heard anything. This is pure speculation. I've not heard a thing. The most popular name that you're going to hear of a young Chicago Fire player being desired will be Sergio Orahel Jr. Because if he plays well, he is currently under contract through this season with a club option. And if he plays well, there is strong reason to believe he will have a lot of suitors everywhere.
About time. Good for him. He looked great in preseason.
Hasn't played an MLS game in a couple years, so there's obviously a massive if, but I genuinely think like he could pull it off.
He's looked a lot better in preseason, and like he's got the tools, right? Like that's never really been the issue with him. I think the issue is because this is kind of a separate conversation, but so many Fire academy players, or even like not academy players, like Fede Navarro, like there's all these signings that look promising where someone young comes in and then it doesn't really pan out. And I think the reason why is that there wasn't a system around them that gives them a role where this is your job and this is what we expect from you. And if you do that, then you are going to help the team win. And because no one's had that, it feels like a lot of these guys kind of fizzle out. Like I think that people were starting to talk about like Georgi Mihailovic not living up to his potential. He gets shipped off to Montreal. He gets basically a job with a job description, and he comes back to the league a couple years later as a designated player and like the face of that team.
See, I'm not going to lie, Joe, I thought you were about to say that Anton Griezmann is going to replace Brian Gutierrez.
That would be really fun. I didn't even have that cross my mind. I really think he's going to end up going somewhere like Los Angeles-y, New York type, honestly. I'm to Chicago. I don't see it happening, even with the D-Ray.
My favorite thing about the possibility of Anton Griezmann replacing Brian Gutierrez is there'd be portions of our fan base who are vehemently upset with that. And that makes that
the hottest version of that take would be Antoine
but
Griezmann for Brian Gutierrez. It is an international straight player swap. No money changes hands.
That would what Nelson Rodriguez say? We just set the soccer world on fire. That would count.
Yeah, that would do it.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, these are definitely hot takes, and I have to say this because I'm hosting that show too. But if you want more hot takes, this is not actually the show for it. Join our live show, 227 on YouTube, Men in Red 97. We'll have a lot more tomfoolery like this, but this has been a cute little preview. I want to skip over to silverware predictions, trophies. There's a lot up for plays. Well, let's just go MLS Cup, Supporter Shield, U.S. Open Cup. If you want to throw in your CONCACAF Champions Cup League, whatever it's called, prediction, you're welcome to, but Fire aren't in it. So truthfully, I don't really care. Anyone want to start? I'll start. Cool.
I like that
Supporter
you went
Shield?
from being a good host at the beginning and like always going last to just going first every single time. You made the
Yeah.
transition.
Yeah. Well, I'm like, I don't expect anyone to raise their hand on this.
Yeah, you can
so,
actually say like, "Hey, like DJ, you go." Right? That's the power of speaking words.
Yeah,
with your mouth.
I could do that. Fine, Tim. You inspired me. Go ahead, Tim. Let's hear it.
All right, so
I'll reserve my thoughts.
you erased the Brimstone Cup for starters, and I think the Fire are going to win the Brimstone Cup. I mean, it's a stupid little thing, but like old original like MLS Sicko trophies are, I think, kind of important to the history of the culture. I think that they're important for a lot of the Fire fans that have like 1998 jerseys in their closets. May not fit, but like they're there. That could start coming to games again if the team is good. I think that they'll win that, and I think that they will, win the Open Cup. I don't think that it's an unrealistic expectation, just given the squad and just given that they can be the team that cares more about it than anything else.
Agreed. Supporter Shield, MLS Cup, thoughts?
Around the league,
Yeah.
I'm going to say Supporter Shield. It just feels like Miami. I mean, there's the real possibility that everything explodes in Miami because it really looks like they've turned over anyone in that front office that knows how MLS works. Like, I don't think they can spell GAM down there now. But you just look at the talent on that roster, and Chris Henderson left the deepest roster with talent coming up the wazoo, and I mean that legacy is still going to be there. So I still think it's theirs. I still think they can get that done. And MLS Cup, the weird thing is it's like always the team that doesn't make the playoffs the previous year, and like out of the teams that didn't make the playoffs the previous year, I don't think it's going to be the Fire. But like if you had to pick a team that didn't make the playoffs last year that could win MLS Cup, I feel like the Fire would be a good choice if you think that continues. Like legitimately,
San Jose
like, give me a better
Earthquakes.
name.
Oh God,
Oh man,
no.
San Jose Earthquakes, Chicago Fire, U.S. Open Cup, Berhalter Arena meeting in the final game of the season would just be insane. I mean,
If you
would just be going insane.
old white men. Ugh.
Yeah,
I love it. Good
old white men
predictions.
from New Jersey too.
Oh yeah, they're modest.
Yeah, no egos in that match whatsoever.
The battle of white dudes from New Jersey. I love it. That'll be a derby for years to come, similarly to the Brimstone Cup. Great predictions, Tim, and in good hosting fashion, I'm not going to take it. I'm going to pass it over to Joe. What do you think? Silverware, talk to me.
Give me the first. I really believe in Atlanta to do something this year. I love everything they've done. They still have some really big questions. I'm not confident in their goalkeeping at this point, even though
Every single year, everyone believes in Atlanta this time of year, and by April, people are like, "Huh?"
Yeah,
But yeah,
no,
this could be the year.
yeah. Why not? Why not? It'll be interesting. Latte Loth is fun. He was a bit of a merchant against crappy teams. Is someone who roots for a team that displays crappy behavior. In Latte Loth ruined us.
That's
So
just how
I
you
really
eat in MLS.
Well,
You're
and
good
with
against
VAR,
crappy teams.
He's one of these dudes. If he gets VAR, because I saw him get two plays or two things against Millwall where it's clearly a penalty, but the ref looks the other way because it's England and it's the second tier, and it's like, well, that's an MLS PK right there. So I really believe in Atlanta. I'll say, like, if MLS Cup, it's going to be darn, I don't want it. You know what? If I'm going to pick Atlanta for the Shield, then you know what? Yeah, I'll pick Miami to get to MLS Cup, and they'll face off against LAFC because they always get there, and it's annoying as hell, and LAFC is going to win because that's how MLS works, and it's annoying beyond belief.
This is why I wanted to go first, because you did steal one of my thoughts, but I'll wait. And now I feel like I don't have an original thought, so I'll pass it over to DJ. But those are really good. Joe, you and I are synced up. I can't lie. DJ, over to you.
I'm gonna say that Atlanta wins Supporter Shield, just because. I mean, I feel like Miguel Almiron comes back with a chip on his shoulder, and the stupid take of the MLS Cup's gonna go to Charlotte.
Ooh, that's a funny take, though, and
the only reason I say that is because I'm saying Brant Bronico is going to be like, you know what, I'm going to win an MLS Cup for my newborn child.
You had a baby?
Yeah.
Or he gets traded mid-season.
Yeah.
Hey, I know a team that could use some center mid depth. That's all I'm saying.
Sir Minty gets a star. I like the prediction.
Yeah. Though. Yeah, going back to hot takes real quick. My league-wide hot take is Wilfred Zaha is the flop of the century, but we don't have to talk about that now.
So excited.
DJ, did you get through all your predictions? U.S. Open Cup, who's yours?
Open Cup. I'm gonna say the Fire. Like that's what I want to say is the Fire, but realistically, the Fire. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't give an Open Cup prediction.
Shoot, go Joe.
I need to do some Open Cup research. You go, and I'll come back.
Okay, I'll go. Fun fact: U.S. Open Cup, the Fire are winning it. It is literally like built in the stars. Tim said it. It's possible. The field's okay. Go out, give it your all. It means a lot to the fans. It should mean a lot to the players. Greg gets the cup. I don't think he's ever won it, but he gets it. Has he won it? DJ, I feel like you know that.
No, he has not.
No. He has not won.
At least not.
He didn't win it as a coach. Did he win it as a player?
Hang on, let me pull up Wikipedia.
Well, while DJ looks that up,
everyone's doing research during this. All right, Joe, want me to read the MLS teams that are in the Open Cup to you?
He's seriously looking at it right now.
In the zone.
I'm looking at it right now.
Supporter Shield, I'm going to go with one we haven't said yet, and that's FC Cincinnati. I think Evander is going to be better than Acosta was in Cincinnati. And they brought in a star DP forward and have one of the best back lines, which is now enhanced by a DP defender they threw back there as well. And of course, they're
not injured this year. So, hey.
Yeah, they're not injured this year, and they have a quality goalkeeper who, yes, of course, is a good friend of mine. So, of course, I'm going to hype it up in Roman Celentano. So, I think they'll get the most points, but I don't think that translates to the playoffs because it never does, and I'm going to go with Atlanta United. So that's why Joe and DJ are cooking right now, right there. Joe, do you have your U.S. Open Cup prediction, or do we need to?
Oh, yeah, of course. Former Chicago Fire defender Kendall Burks is with Lexington Sporting Club, I believe, so they'll win it.
What a great prediction. We skipped the hot take section we were on the hot take section about 20 minutes ago, Joe. So
you know what? This would be a fun year for a USL team to win.
I feel like his mom must love Lexington every time they visit.
Yeah, great people.
They are great people.
We're talking Lexington, Kentucky, yes?
Unfortunately.
It's a fun town to visit. You don't want to stay there too long.
Tim, how many times have you been to Lexington, Kentucky?
3 or 4 in my life.
Why?
Always random things. I was there for a buddy's bachelor party, which was crazy. I mean, because it's sort of like, you're like in bourbon country and stuff like that. So like if you're going to stay in a town where you can drink, that's sort of where you stay.
I'm just trying to find the one place in the world where I can say it, and Tim hasn't been like, yeah, I've been there twice.
There's tons of places that I have not been, including Coachella.
Honestly, you're not missing. It's Palm Springs. It's an old person town.
Well,
that's my jam.
Wait, that describes my home.
What's wrong with it? Nothing.
I love it. I love it.
What's the funniest thing's going to be, too, is when San Jose wins the Supporter Shield entirely off of hatred from Bruce Arena.
Just spite.
Exactly.
I mean, he's like literally bringing guys in that are like, hey, Chicho Arango, you had an unspecified problem that got you into disciplinary trouble. Want to come and like ball out with me?
Can I just tell you the one thing I noticed from any other team at Coachella was those dudes did not seem to be in sync on the pitch. those dudes did not seem to get along when it came to communicating because there was so little communication going on between Chicho Arango and Joseph Martinez, which it seemed like there was already tension. So I'm really excited to see that explode, honestly.
The problem is there's not team catered meals, from my understanding, at Coachella. So Joseph Martinez couldn't just tip over a table of chicken and rice after the game. And that's sort of like muting the guy. Like he couldn't express his frustration in his native language of tipping over tables full of food. And so things were going to boil over some other way.
Oh, I get it. It's tough.
I'm confused. Does Joseph have a history of this? What am I missing?
It happened once that we know of.
In Atlanta?
Yes.
That's fine.
He tipped over a table of chicken and rice and basically like called out the entire squad underneath him. Which is an effective way. And like, we're still talking about it. My favorite comment that somebody, I think it was Paul Tenorio, had this. He's like, my opinions on it would be very different if he tipped over a table of chicken and rice, in which case, like, fine. Or like, if it was pollo and arroz, then like, that's a different thing. Like that, I would not be okay with.
Yo, I'm pretty sure he was one of the guys on Inter Miami 2 seasons ago who took multiple Lou Malnati's boxes with them to the bus.
Good choice.
He's just living his best life, man. Maybe we all have the kind of life that Joseph Martinez has had, minus maybe the ACL injury.
It sounds like we have a lot to look forward to in the season. Who will score the most goals for the Fire? Will Brian Gutierrez lose out his job to Antoine Griezmann? And how many tables does Joseph Martinez flip over chicken and rice throughout the season? So a lot to look forward to, which is obviously, maybe not obviously, kicking off this Saturday, 7 p.m. Central Time. The Fire are traveling to that town, aka 6:30 Central, not 7 p.m. Central.
You made people miss kickoff, so that was cool.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, they're traveling to Columbus for the home opener against Wilfred Nancy's lads. The Fire go to Columbus, face Greg Berhalter's former team. It's a reunion of sorts, and they're hoping to do something they haven't done since 2009, which is win their opening game. And that's not going to be an easy place to do it. And since 2013, they haven't even beaten the Crew in Columbus, which they're also due for. So it sounds like the combination of there being a reunion, Wilfred Nancy's down a couple players, which we'll touch on next, and the Fire, have the potential to actually be good. It could be the season. The Columbus are coming in with a really interesting offseason. They didn't bring a ton of key signings, but they did bring in one. Lassi Lapalainen, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced this.
Coolest name. One of the coolest names in MLS. Latte Loth is like probably the highest just because, come on. But like.
But Lasse Lapalainen, awesome name. He played 11 games last year for the Impact, but only got 1 assist. But clearly, Wilfred Nancy thinks he could get some voodoo magic out of him, and knowing Wilfred Nancy, he'll probably do that. But the bigger news for the Crew is, of course, the key departures, starting off with the less serious ones, Yaya Boa and Alexandre Matan, who were key pieces in that rotation. Christian Ramirez, who came off the bench and scored a boatload of goals for the Columbus Crew, including one in the MLS Cup final. Did I make that up?
Sounds right.
Were they?
Yes.
Yeah, sounds about right. And then, of course, the big dog, arguably the second best player in the league, Cucho Hernandez, who went overseas to Spain to play for Real Betis. This is a guy who had 44 goals and 28 assists in 70 games. And the fact that we don't have to see him this Saturday is something that we should be very lucky about. We don't really know much about what the Crew did this preseason, as most of their games, or all of their games, were played behind closed doors, and they didn't really say on it. So we're going in blind, but there's a lot to look out for. You can never count out a Wilfred Nancy team. On the Fire side, there's a lot of injury rumors, and maybe we'll touch on them in the next couple minutes. Will Kuipers be healthy? Pineda's been out. Marin's been out. Elliott's been, missing time. Mueller, Rogers, all of these guys have missed time preseason. So it's going to be interesting to see what the lineup comes out. And Zinkernagel, I believe, got injured in this last match. Yeah, he came off with a groin injury, not groin injury, calf injury.
I don't know what the injury was, but he came off.
Yeah, we don't really know. So there's definitely going to be some questions about the lineup. Who will start next to Kellen and Brian? What's the center back pairing look like? I want to start off with some predictions, and maybe we'll start off with score prediction. What do the Fire do? Win, loss, draw, score. Let's start with DJ. Oh, Tim, I lied.
Come on, Greg Berhalter goes to
Tim
Columbus.
growled at me, by the way, just to let everyone know.
Greg Berhalter goes to Columbus is got to be a 2-0.
Oh, we lose 0-2?
No,
2-0
a
win.
win.
Got it.
Do you not know what happens when Greg Berhalter goes to Columbus?
Well, if that's the case, I'm very happy with that. If we shut out Columbus, their home opener, brilliant. Who scores, Tim?
I am going to say Jonathan Bamba and Brian Gutierrez.
Great calls.
Probably the
DJ.
safest options, but
Hey, sometimes the safest are the way to go. DJ, predictions.
I'm going to say Fire win probably. I'm going to say the Fire win 1-0. And I'm going to say
Another
that
shutout.
Kellen Acosta gets that goal. I mean, I'm all in on the Brady hype train this year.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Joe, are you going to give me another shutout?
I'll give you 1-1. That's not an indictment on anybody, but Columbus is tough. And if this team can grind out a 1-1 result on the road to open the season, that's not a bad thing. I will give you a Jack Elliott goal off a corner kick.
MLS Cup style in the 97th minute or whenever he scored.
As someone who has to go to Columbus, I don't need that game to go into that much stoppage time, but like the second minute of stoppage time would be perfectly fine.
Yeah. Heard.
As little time as you can spend this in Columbus, that's good.
Damn right.
Yeah. Okay, so we got 2 shutouts, a tie. So last season, for context, Tim knows this. I never, ever, ever predicted the Fire to do anything but win. I predicted a win every.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I'm an optimist. But we're starting a little game this season, and I'm actually going to start thinking with my brain instead of with my heart. So I'm going 2-2 tie. I think it's going to be a goal-heavy game. Bamba's definitely going to get on the score sheet, and I'll agree with you, Tim. I'm going to go with Guti as well because 2025 is the year of being safe and not crazy. So I'm going 2-2 tie, which means we have 2 wins, which happen to be both shutouts, and 2 draws. I'm just glad nobody said a loss. We're all feeling pretty good, yeah?
Yeah, this is a time to get points against Columbus.
yeah, exactly. Right. Like they've shipped out 2 of their best players. Like they're planning on replacing them from within, which is like cool. But like after a while, like you can't, there was one Cucho Hernandez in the league. Like there's arguably like Messi's better and like all that, but like Columbus was never going to get Messi. He was a special player. Even if they announced the signing today, he's not going to be, suiting up on Saturday. He's not lacing his boots to face Chicago. So it's the time to get points.
I saw a tweet a couple of days ago that said the Columbus Crew should consider trading for MLS veteran Tom Barlow. And that made me chuckle because I feel like even on their depth chart right now, he'd still be sitting at 2 or 3. But you're right. Like it is the time to beat Columbus. They're down. They're, all over the place. But it's also difficult to like I said earlier, to count out a Wilfred Nancy team because he's arguably the best manager in the league, and his teams are always going to give you a good little fight. But we will see what the Fire are able to do, not at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time because you'd miss most of the first half, but at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard. Yeah. Double thumbs up from Tim. Nailed it. My mom will be so proud of me. It's going to be a battle. Greg Berhalter returns to Columbus. And of course, we'll be talking about it next week on the Bonfire. Gentlemen, before we close out, any other feelings about the game? Any lineup concerns? What do you think the lineup's going to look like? Any surprises in there? Open-ended? I don't have to choose anyone? It's okay if not.
I think we're going to have to see what the injury update is. We'll talk to Greg Berhalter on Thursday. It'll be, in Joe's preview, it'll be in my preview, I'm sure, from what we learned. Joe probably has a better idea than I do at this point.
Yeah, no Zinkernagel or Barroso in training today. Kuipers was in training today, so those other 2 are the big question marks for me. Even if Kuipers is like healthy, I'd be shocked if he plays more than 30 minutes. He just hasn't. Like, why would he be full match fitness after not playing in the preseason? I think it's just going to take a little bit of time. But I expect everybody, other than the 2 question marks of Zinkernagel and Barroso.
So who's the starting right winger?
The starting right winger?
Yeah, who would start if Zinkernagel's not in the lineup?
Well, Marin's hurt. Guti, and you slide Sergio up to the 10 and Kwame in the pivot. I don't know.
This is when the depth chart gets funny because it's like, okay, so Guti can play, at the 10 or he can play on the right wing, and both you're pretty happy with. But if Guti's not at the 10, then Zinkernagel's the backup that you'd probably want to see there. But if Guti's sliding right because Zinkernagel's not available, then okay, well, Parebo would probably be next on the depth chart. He is not going to be playing for a while. Then you've got Robert Turdine, like, you know,
Dylan
like, is that going to happen?
Welcome to the league.
There's no chance that's going to happen on opening day. So then, right, like, do you like push Borso up there? Do you like try Sergio Orhel? Do you play Jonathan Bamba like way out of position? Like, there's not really great options there.
What they did against the Galaxy when Zinkernagel went off was basically moved Guti out to the right, and I believe they just put Kwame at attacking mid, I want to say.
Yep.
Or they kind of moved everything around there.
I will say that what you do when you're up by a boatload of goals is not necessarily what you do at the beginning of a game.
I'll also say we're kind of forgetting the fact that we have a natural winger on the roster we haven't talked about, and that's Amari Glasgow, who's also potential. You know, he might not be your number one.
It would be his third ever MLS start.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, but like if
he's played in MLS before, right? Like he's played in MLS, which is not something you could say about Jonathan Bamba right now, even though we think he's going to cook. So he's got that going for him.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, like, instead of starting Sergio out on the right, maybe throw Amari in. That'll make the fans go crazy. Paul will love it.
I think that's probably the most likely if that's the situation we're in, and both Marin and Zinkernagel are not.
Yeah, well, it's going to be an interesting situation. A lot to look forward to. A lot of question marks, but we're getting really, 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 really excited for a fun season. This was a great way to kick it off with our preview. Just so you guys know, we're going to go back to our weekly format of an episode a week over on Bonfire, and then we'll have a monthly show for you over on YouTube, Hot Takes. And we'll be providing a ton of written and video content, audio content for you guys throughout the season, because there's going to be a lot of talking points. Like Tim said, there's going to be a lot of highs, a lot of lows, and we're excited to walk through it with you guys together. Real quick before we sign off, where can we find everyone on social media, Joe?
On X, it's at Joe Chats. On Blue Sky, what a boring platform. It's the at Joe Chats, and Joe Chat Sports on Instagram. Yeah, Joe Chat Sports on Instagram. Go there. That's more fun, and maybe you'll see something about my actual life. But yeah, do me a favor. On Tap Sports.
Which Bass Pro Shop hat Joe is wearing that?
Hey, I'm wearing a bucket hat. Maybe I'm randomly playing golf on a Tuesday because both teams have off, and you're like, what does this dude do in his life? And it's just interesting things can come about.
And be sure to go check out Joe's stuff on Tap Sports. He might not be writing for our team, but he's a friend of the team. He's our friend, and he has some incredible coverage of the club over on Tap. So be sure to check out his stuff. I mean, this guy traveled to Coachella to work with the team. So we're grateful to have him as part of our community.
It's a real burden, let me tell you. Oh.
Yeah, you look so good at look so good at those Hawaiian shirts and Bass Pro Shop hats. Thanks for joining us, Joe. Tim, where can we find you?
You can find me at sing_electric on X, T-Hotsy on Blue Sky, which I'm starting to post to more or less is like the first place that I go for stuff. And then anything I write is on menandred97.com.
Never heard of them. Rock on. DJ.
Yeah.
I'm going to avoid the bad joke, but no. You can find me on DJH2036 on Twitter.
Rock on. You could find me, mshapes, MSHABES, on Instagram, on X, on any social media, including TikTok. Please follow me on TikTok. I need more followers. Joe, you're smiling right now. Go follow me. And of course, follow Men in Red 97 on YouTube, X, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you want to, along with MIR 97 Pods, which is where we release all of our episodes on X, along with Lil Fire 97, which we hope to bring back a little bit more. Tim's baby, and
really not mine. I was just a helping co-parent for.
Well, we love Lil Fire 97. Maybe we'll bring him back a little bit more. A lot of places to look for content. And we plan on giving it to you. The last thing I'll say before we head out, we're very close we're getting close. We're not very close to producing our 2025 MIR 97 scarf. So keep an eye out for that. If you like the 2024 one, we're going to hit you with an equally better one, if not better, 2025 one to get the ball rolling on that. And of course, some merch is down the line as well, like I've said before. So just keep your eye out for that stuff. Super exciting news. But as always, we're very grateful to this team for recording. We're very grateful to all of our listeners. You guys listen to all episodes. Retention rate's incredible. And we're really grateful to have you guys as part of this community. So we're excited to see you in Columbus. We're excited to see you at Soldier Field next week. And until then, come on, you men in red. Let's go beat Columbus.